Hi, my name is Greg Smith, and I'm a board-certified behavior analyst with CREC's River Street Outreach Program. As a behavior analyst, I've spent my career asking the questions, why do kids act out, and what helps kids stay calm? Today's video will take a look at a framework to understand the first of those two questions, why do kids act out? Albert Einstein was quoted as saying that your formulation of a problem is often more essential than its solution. When confronted with challenging behavior from our kids, it's tempting to oversimplify our formulation of the problem. Oftentimes, we want to sum it up in a word. The child is just being spoiled. They're being bratty. They're acting, they know better, and they're being defiant, or they're just doing that for attention. Your explanation may drive interventions along the lines of punishment rather than more thoughtful approaches to what might really be going on. As we seek to better understand challenging behavior patterns in our children, it can be helpful to consider each of three areas that impact and influence behavior. The first of these is immediate circumstances. This includes the immediate triggers as well as those things that contribute to urgency in the moment. The backdrop of human needs is the second level. And the third has to do with individual characteristics and traits that our kids carry with them at all times through every interaction. Let's take each of these individually. Immediate triggers to challenging behaviors often include events that our kids find frustrating. These include things like being told no for an answer, being asked to wait for something we want immediately, being asked to do a task that we find challenging or difficult, or having to give up the fun, something you're enjoying in the moment, without warning. Each of these things not only would be challenging for our kids, but they're also challenging for us as adults. Our responses are also influenced in the moment by our physiology. If you've ever been with a child who is tired, or who has missed a dose of medication, or who is hungry, or maybe starting to get sick, you know the impact our physiology can have on behavior. As we continue our quest to fully understand what contributes to challenging behavior patterns in our kids, let's turn next to what we're calling the human need level. In our section on immediate circumstances, we've already discussed some of our physiological needs. This included when kids are hungry, when they're tired. So food and sleep, shelter, all of these are immediate needs. We also have a need for safety. But as we move up the hierarchy of needs, we also can take a look at psychological needs. Jane Nelson, in her book Positive Discipline, states that an acting out child is a discouraged child. For example, we all have the need for attention, to feel like we're noticed by others, that we're cared for and appreciated, that others sympathize with us. In addition, we all have a need for power, a sense that what we do and say matters and is taken seriously, and that we have an impact on those around us and our circumstances. We also have a need for control, to feel that the decisions we make and the choices we have are our own. We also have a need for fun and excitement, for stimulation that relieves boredom, to escape things that provoke anxiety in us, people that provoke anxiety in us, events that cause distress. We also have a need for belonging and purpose in our lives. We are the only species that will turn to self-destructive behaviors and suicide if these needs, psychological needs, go unmet, or we are hopeless about having those needs met. A final area as to why our kids may have challenging behavior is found at the level of individual differences. Some children experience high levels of anxiety, Some are temperamentally less able to handle change flexibly. Some of our kids struggle with emotional regulation, and still others may be prone to act impulsively and have difficulty with self-control. In some cases, these individual differences rise to the level of meeting criteria for a mental health disorder, a learning disability, or a developmental disorder. Often, there are instructional strategies, therapies, or medication that can help mitigate the impact of these disorders on behavioral functioning. A second part of the Albert Einstein quote we began with reads, "To raise new questions, new possibilities, to regard old problems from a new angle requires creative imagination." While it's tempting to think of challenging behavior as simple, as we can see, it's often anything but. All behavior communicates. By stepping back and seeing this behavior from a new angle, by looking through a framework of immediate circumstances, human needs, and individual differences, we realize that our children are not spoiled or brats, but instead have unmet needs, wants, and desires they are trying to communicate. By understanding challenging behavior, we can find creative ways to regard old problems from new angles. With a fuller understanding of just why our kids are acting up, practical solutions to reduce immediate triggers may become more apparent. Creative ways to provide for our child's psychological needs might be discovered. And key social, emotional, and coping skills aimed at helping our children grow to their full potential might be identified. Thanks for listening.